This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 922 for October the 27th, 2022.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, you good-looking smart people out there. This is Chris. You're listening to Tips from the Top Floor. And this is okay. Today, I'm kicking this right off with a game changer. I am not kidding you. So then we'll talk about a nice little tool that I recently found regarding video, online video on Twitter. Lightroom has just released a new bout of AI tools, and Stable Diffusion is going to move into a very interesting new direction. Not location, direction. Anyway, let's kick this off with the game changer. If you're using an iPhone, and if you take pictures with your iPhone, this is a game changer. This is not clickbait or listen bait. I'm serious, and I promise this is not just a tease. And then I will make you sit through the entire episode and give you the reveal at the end. That is not how I play. And I'd even wager the prediction that some of you will be so happy in about 5 minutes that you want to tell your friends about this and post a link to this episode on your social media. Or send me a donation. And it's free. It's free. All right. So, yes, unfortunately, this is only for iOS users. Android users are probably going to roll their eyes because they already had that functionality. But the iPhone photographers among you, you're in for a big treat. What is your most used camera on the iPhone? Halide? Argentum? Or is it the stock camera app that comes with the system? Which is kind of likely. And why is it likely? Well, because convenience always wins. It's easy to access this from the lock screen. It's just one interaction to start a camera instead of with another camera to open the phone and find it and tap on it and so on. And how often did you wish that you could launch your favorite camera straight from the lock screen? And the problem is Apple has been very strict about not letting you use the lock screen to get directly to your favorite camera apps. But they have made one important change with iOS 16. And no, unfortunately, it's not a new system setting that lets you change which camera app opens when you press that camera icon on the lock screen. That would be too simple. No, that will still make you jump through a hoop or two, but it's worth it. Actually, this new solution is easier to use than the Apple camera launcher itself, which, yeah, that's true. And this new solution will take you directly to your camera app of choice, and it doesn't require you to do any weird illegal hacks or anything. So here we go. With iOS 16, Apple introduced lock screen widgets. You'll find them on the lock screen straight under the clock. There's like 4 slots for widgets. Stuff like, I don't know, your next calendar appointment or the battery level of your AirPods or, I don't know, an additional clock for a different time zone, that kind of stuff. And iOS apps can provide widgets too. Like if you're a developer, you're making a camera app, you could provide a widget. Pro Camera has done that. They have a launcher widget. So if you use the Pro Camera app, I think, you'll find a widget that you can put on one of those 4 slots, and then it's just one tap to start the Pro Camera app from the lock screen, which is convenient. But that's not the game changer just yet. Because when I was looking for a widget for Argentum, which I tend to use in some circumstances and I want to have quick access to, there's nothing. They didn't build it in. They didn't build into the app, and the app maker has to make that widget. They have to do programming to do that. And so I wrote an email to these guys asking them if they could build a launcher widget into their app. But yeah, I'm at the mercy of the developer. But here's the game changer, and it's called Lockflow. Lockflow is an iOS app, and it's free. And with Lockflow, you can make widgets to launch arbitrary apps. And that is awesome. Because now I have an Argentum launcher. So it's just a little bit fiddly. And I did have to restart the iPhone a couple times for the widget to show up in the selection list. But after setting it up, it works like a charm. Never fails. So Launchflow can do two things. It can launch an app, or it can launch a shortcut, which is also a system built into iOS that allows you to do workflows of things. And the steps to get this working is, it's fairly simple. You install Logflow, and then in the Logflow app, you tap the plus and add an app launcher for your camera app. And then once you've done that, on the lock screen, on your phone's lock screen, you long press straight in the middle, then press the customize button, and then you tap into that widget area right under the clock, and then you can select which apps or widgets you want in there, and you select Logflow from the add widgets list, and then the new circle icon shows up under the clock, and then you tap that one and you select your configured app launcher. That's it. And just you save the lock screen and you're done. What happened to me is the Argentum, the Logflow thing didn't let me add an app launcher for Argentum, for that camera app. For some reason, it wasn't in there. So maybe it's still a bit buggy, or I don't know. I don't know. But if your favorite camera app doesn't show up in that add launcher thing in Logflow, then you do an extra step that I had to do. You go to shortcuts and you create a new shortcut that will launch your favorite camera app. And then you can add that shortcut to Logflow, which is a bit of a roundabout way, but it does work just fine. It doesn't actually take longer. So you tap and the camera's there. Whichever way you use, the result will be an icon on your lock screen. Right under the clock, that will open your favorite camera app with a single tap. Yes, straight from the lock screen. This is a game changer for me, because it really will allow me to use, I can put 4 different camera apps right on the lock screen this way. And by the way, I told you earlier, this method makes it easier to open up a camera than the stock camera app, because to access the stock camera app from the lock screen, it's not just a tap on that camera, it's a long tap. You have to hold it for a second, or you have to swipe your lock screen to the left. And for the new camera launcher, it's just a single tap, just as you tap any other icon. And that, my dear friends, is a game changer. And if you found this tip helpful, smash that like button. No, link this episode to your friends, tweet about it, maybe buy me a coffee, or have a look at tfttf.com/support. Anyway, speaking of tools, speaking of amazing tools, here's one that is only remotely related to photography, but I just recently came across like several videos. I was researching some stuff around Ukraine, and I saw President Zelensky speak, and I couldn't make sense of it because it's Ukrainian and I don't speak Ukrainian. But I recently came across a new service, and it's of course AI based, and it's called VidTranslator. And all you do in Twitter, again, it's integrated into Twitter, is you add under one of these videos, you reply to the video, add VidTranslator blank translate. And I will take that video, put English subtitles under it, and send you the link. And it works really well. And I believe it does use Whisper under the hood, which is an open source, again, game-changing transcription service. So that does several languages, and it's very good. And it's open source. Did I mention it's open source? So anyway, that is kind of the VidTranslator thing. I'll link to that in the show notes. I thought this pretty cool. Okay, next up in the list, Lightroom. Yeah, I still use Adobe Lightroom Classic. I pride myself to to probably have been one of the first users of Lightroom back when it was still in beta, years and years and years ago. And while there are a lot of other interesting tools out there, the one thing that that keeps me in Lightroom, not just that it works, but all my photos are in there, at least the ones that are not from the iPhone, because those go into the iCloud photo library on Apple's platform. But Lightroom has this database approach. I've talked about this numerous times in the past. Has this database approach. You can pretty much almost build queries and sort and find things, and it's also has all my edits in it, and not just the edits as in the pictures are edited. No, it has the entire edit history of all my photos in there. We're talking over 100,000 photos in there at this point, and growing. And so Lightroom, yeah, still the standard for me. Lightroom Classic, that is. Used to be Lightroom, then it got renamed to Lightroom Classic, and Lightroom became the mobile version of it. But yeah, Classic is it. It is, and they keep updating it, and they keep adding features, and now they just added new AI masks, which is interesting, because it will help you make selections, and pretty precise selections. So when you install latest Lightroom, I think it's version 12, it will update your catalog, or let's say it will create a copy of the catalog and update that. The database structure has changed, and save that as a new catalog. So you won't lose your old catalog, and the new one is going to be ready for Lightroom 12. And yeah, it has AI masks, which is interesting, because you now can automatically select the subject in a photo, and it does a fairly good job in determining what the subject might be, or all the people, or the sky, or the background. And that stuff works remarkably well. Decent selections. The edges are okay. They're good. Like with any edge selection, any selection of a subject, depending on what's behind it, you might get a bit of haloing at the edges, but it's not bad. It's pretty much up to par. They also have their adaptive presets, which I didn't play too much with, but apparently you have a preset for, let's say, face repairs, and you can automatically select teeth and eyes and that kind of stuff, or the face skin, or the body skin, or hair and stuff, and all AI powered selections which will help you retouch portraits and stuff. And then those adaptive presets, you can have these settings in an adaptive preset. So you could have portraits of different people, and on each of those, I don't know, whiten the teeth, for example, and without having to reselect the teeth on each of them, because the adaptive preset takes care of this using AI. So yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty good masks, and good way to simplify your workflow, especially if you're in portraiture, but also in other product photography, that kind of stuff. Selecting a product and separating it from the background. Hey, that's pretty cool. All right. Last but not least, Stable Diffusion, the open source image generator AI network thingy, which has made a pretty big splash in the whole art scene, and it's it's a bit controversial. The Luddites are coming out, and I'm of the opinion to we have to use these tools. We have to use them to our advantage, and not try to put the worms back into the can. That's not going to work. You won't uninvent this technology. So I think it's really important to understand that. It's not going to go away. Embrace it. That's what I'm doing. Anyway, so Stable Diffusion, a photo generator or art generator. We're talking about stills and stuff. There was a bit of there were tools added, tacked onto it from the outside, like a video generation stuff and so on. They're now going to include that in an interesting tool. They have you cannot just get those models and run them on your own machine if you want to. They also have a web service, so you can go on. It's dreamstudio.ai, and you can do still images there. That's just the basic initial kind of thing they did to give people access to that don't have the infrastructure at home, and give them a very non-tech access to the platform, which is good. But they are expanding that into audio, into video, and into 3D. And that's the gist of an announcement video that I will link in the show notes that has that in them. So what they did in that video, they gave more glimpses of like a video interface and also of Dream Studio Pro, which is going to be their online production kind of studio or online AI production kind of thing. This thing will have a storyboard mode. Stable Diffusion is going to integrate with Blender 3D, which is a 3D rendering suite. And Dream Studio Pro will also be compatible with like proprietary fine-tuned image models and stuff. If you have looked into this, if you're a techie looking into this, this is all gonna be clear to you. And also, their API, anyone will be able to integrate that into their pipeline. We're talking about existing video editing tools that will enable that this will be integrated with sooner or later. I'd say probably sooner, especially as it's open source, especially as there's there's going to be a lot of stuff that we'll see coming out in terms of tools, in terms of advances in this whole field. Of course, their own API is a paid thing, but they are looking within the next few weeks to have their animation API live. They're also planning to half the price of their standard image generation, which was already quite competitive compared to DALL-E and others. They have a new, what they call clip-guided image generation, which helps you get better results. But if you don't need that, if you know what you're doing and with prompt building, you can use the non-clip guided image generation, which again will be halved in price. And that is pretty amazing to see what is coming out of Stability.ai. That's the company behind it. So we'll see where this goes. I'm keeping an eye on that. It's shaking up things, and we haven't seen anything yet. Anyway, that's it for today. Short episode, but if you enjoyed any part of this, make sure to let your friends know. Make sure to tell the world, and guess that's it. Yes, my friends, that was it for today, for this episode of Tips from the Top Floor. Thanks for being subscribed. Thanks for listening. You guys are awesome. And again, hey, let the world know. If you're walking to go, you better let me know. I remember that you can, of course, follow Tips from the Top Floor on Twitter at TFTTF. Photo, that's TFTTF, Drop your feedback for the show at tfttf.com/hi. That's the central landing page for bringing things to my attention. Or write or record a voicemail there. Everything's possible. tfttf.com/hi. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And of course, if you can, please support the show at Patreon. Especially now that my new computer is here. That's the M2 laptop I'm sitting in front of. Hey, that's expensive. Anyway, you can support me on Patreon at tfttf.com/Patreon, tfttf.com/Patreon. It starts at $1 per episode, and it really does help. Your support makes a difference. And love you guys. And now go out and take amazing photos. Be extra nice to each other. And of course, happy shooting.